I'd like to ask if you've got a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show great, and we thrive on your energy and insight. Whether it is a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion, you just have to share. Please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We really rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the gsmcsportsnetwork to tip, donate, and leave a comment there or a question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. But we start off with Tottenham. Opening day disappointment as they drew with Leicester 1-1 in an interesting game. Let me read out the stats real quick first of all. So 1-1, Pedro Porro getting the opening goal in the 29th minute, Jamie Vardy then equalizing later on in the second half in the 57th minute. 15 shots for Tottenham to 7 shots for Leicester. 7 shots on target for Tottenham to 3 shots on target for Leicester. 71% possession for Tottenham to 29% for Leicester. And I have to say disappointing result, especially when you look at the first half for Tottenham. Really disappointing result because Tottenham, in terms of general play, in terms of chances created, in terms of just overall the football being played, they complete and utter dominated Leicester, played Leicester completely out of the park. The only issue was, instead of going into halftime with a 3-4 goal lead, which really, if they were up 3-4 goals, it would have been a fair result over what we saw in terms of that first half. Instead, it's only 1-0, and Tottenham were meant to be Leicester made them pay, because Leicester, they just stayed in the game. They were hanging on, and then one opportunity, one little crevice, and Jamie Vardy is able to take advantage of it on the back post header, 1-1. And once Leicester made it 1-1, for the next 15-20 minutes or so, Leicester were the one on the front foot. In terms of Leicester was the one that was looking more deadly to get the second goal. It was Tottenham that were struggling to play the simple passes, that were really put on the back foot. And again, I think what we saw from Tottenham is, in terms of general play, they can create chances. They're a good team, but mentality-wise, the mentality at the club is still weak, is still fragile, and we saw it in this opening day. Because look, let's go to that first half. There is no killer will, there is no killer mindset to bury a team. It's almost like, okay, we have that 1-goal lead. Let's ease the game out of here. Let's keep it all in the second. Let's not get out of second gear. Let's smooth the way to the finish line. And you cannot do that against a team playing their first Premier League game in over a year now at the King's Power Stadium. It's not that simple. It really is not that simple. They tried to. There was no killer will. There was no killer mentality. There was no that mentality to bury this team. There was no that cutting edge to bury this team. And in front of goal, they were just not good enough. They created a lot of opportunities, and they were just not good enough. And yes, Dominic Solanke, he is the answer to that issue in terms of bringing in a striker like that. He was able to start the game. And I didn't think in terms of general play, he was terrible. I thought he had a few decent opportunities, nothing great, a few decent opportunities. Few decent opportunities that he didn't take advantage of, but I still think he's a striker with quality and is a striker that will come good. It just today wasn't his day, and yeah, and Tottenham, they just were not good enough in front of a goal. Now, Tottenham, they're going to be banking on Dominic Solanke, being the player that he was for Bournemouth last season, being that sort of goal scoring presence for them. Because well, today, I mean, that was the main thing, especially in that first half. It was just being able to get the ball in the back of the net, that real cutting edge, that real final ball, that real clinicalness in the final third. And again, also mentality, having that killer will to want to bury a team, to get rid of a team, to want to get this game done by halftime. There was that, you watched the game and you saw they didn't have that sort of a killer will. And on top of that, I talk about mentality. Once they concede that goal in the 57th minute, which is, by the way, the only opportunity they had the entire game, Tottenham looked shaky. Tottenham couldn't play a ball, a simple ball. It just seemed like all the momentum shifted in a snap of in one snap, which is very concerning because, again, you're dominating the game in terms of how dominant that they were in that first 56 minutes. I can't put into words. Extremely dominant. And then one bad moment, and it shifts the whole momentum of the game, and the team suffers a psychological blow from it, a big psychological blow. And that's concerning signs. Now, look, for me, in terms of them not being able to get that second, third, the finishing and all that, that is an issue, but I think that's an issue that, I think it'll get solved for Dominic Solanke. I think he will be the answer for them. I really believe in him. I think he's a very, very good striker. I just think he started off a little bit slow, which happens. It's he just started training with the team a few days ago now or so. So it's I'm not worried on that aspect, but I am worried about the mentality. There's always been a problem with Tottenham's mentality, and from this opening game so far, I don't want to judge what they're going to do this season just from the opening game, but what I saw from the opening game, the mentality is still an issue. There is still that sort of bottle job mentality there, because that was a game that they just completely had in their hands, that they should have taken over and wiped out, and instead they kept Leicester into the game. And then once Leicester had the one opportunity, the defense cracked, and then it completely shifted momentum for the next 15-20 minutes. That is a mentality issue that's been a part of Tottenham's history now, as long as I've watched football, and it's a massive concern because, again, these are new generations coming in again, and it's the same old problems. You want to ask, what's how do we fix this? How does Tottenham fix this issue? But again, and by the way, Ange Postecoglou, he had some interesting remarks about it. He was for opening day, and he's never been one that pinch his words. But yeah, he had some interesting thoughts on it. Whenever he was speaking about it, Postecoglou, after the game, he said it was an issue we had last year as well. We need to keep working hard and be a bit more ruthless in front of goal. At times we made poor decisions. When we are at that dominant, we should be out of sight. We do everything to score goals and we didn't score. The dominance is great, but if we don't score, it is meaningless. We have to be stronger in our mindset in the front third. To be that wasteful is disappointing. We just weren't clinical to get results. You need to be a lot more ruthless in the final third. If we won't get the rewards our football should get. If we are going to get to the next level, it is an area we have to improve. We want to bridge the gap to the top teams. The performance of the players in general is very good, but we need to turn good performance into outcome. And that's the thing. It was a good performance in terms of general play, especially in that first half, but the results just doesn't show it. And yeah, that's an issue that Tottenham is gonna need to solve. Because look, you want to look at all the other teams, all the other teams that are competing up there. When you're talking about Arsenal, Tottenham, we're talking about Arsenal, we're talking about City, we're talking about Liverpool, you know? These are all teams, Aston Villa, these are all teams that took care of the weaker opposition in their opening game. Despite, some of those teams having slow starts, like Liverpool had with Ipswich Town, they took care of the result against teams that are against teams that are difficult. In the Premier League, every game is difficult, but they're teams that they're teams that these top teams are expected to beat, and they took care of it. Tottenham ready. They're ready. Had a slip into the season, and it's just not a good start for them. It's very, very disappointing. But I do think, getting Dominic Solanke in, allowing him to continue to get molded into the team, get more chemistry, start fitting in, having the players understand his tendencies. I think they will get better. I think Dominic Solanke could be the answer for a lot of the Tottenham weaknesses that we saw. And but again, it's just a bad start to the season for them. It's a really bad start to the season for them because you want to take care of the weaker oppositions like other teams were able to do in their opening game. Tottenham was not. So